You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast. Yo, what's going on, money makers? Welcome back to the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to help you make more money. Today on the show, we're talking about pressure washing and how you can make some bank doing pressure washing with my good friend, Robert Eisenstadt. Robert is the owner of a thriving commercial pressure washing company in Las Vegas, growing it to a seven-figure business through high-quality service and strategic expansion, specializing in large-scale projects like gas stations, commercial drive-throughs, hospitals, apartment complexes. Robert is dedicated to setting the industry standard. Outside of business, he is a devoted parent, preparing to welcome a new addition to the family. So congrats to him for doing all these things. But before we jump into this conversation, if you're tuning in and you're wondering how I go about building the relationships that I have with the amazing people on this show or my other podcast, Travis Makes Friends, it's through the podcast. And a good podcast can help you connect to people who you never thought would give you the time of day, but it can also help you build an audience, grow your social channels, create a personal brand, attract deals to yourself, sharpen your expertise. And if you're committed, it can even pay you sponsorship dollars in the future to do all of those things. So for a limited time, I'm opening up my calendar for one or two more podcast coaching clients one-on-one, which I've not done in a really long time. I don't know how long I'll continue to do it, but for now I am doing it. So if you're already running a 7, 8, or 9-figure business and you want to improve your existing podcast or start one, head over to travischappell.com/coaching. There's an application there. We'll see if we're a good fit to work together. travischappell.com/coaching. Robert, what's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, man. It's been a long time coming. So we connected in a mastermind group, but then I don't think we actually even connected there though. Right. Like, I don't think I remember, like, did we meet there or do we meet at
Yeah,
the
well,
gym?
kind of, right? Like, I mean, there's so many people inside of those groups, and you're kind of trying to find the right people to connect with inside of those things. But it was really like we saw each other through passing, right? But then it was
Yeah.
really at the gym when
Yeah.
I saw you were wearing the 100 million, and then I was wearing the Avengers shirt, and we were like, oh,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah. So I feel like we should know each other. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, we ended up working out the same gym. So we just kind of saw each other and kept tabs and everything. But one thing I really appreciated about you, bro, is that you made the most out of the groups. There's a lot of people who will come in and then just expect the group to solve all their problems. But the thing that I had respect for you for was that I would just randomly see you show up at different things that were not group related, but were somehow tied to people that were in the group. And it was like, oh, I like recognize that in people. Like, this is a guy who's doing his best to make the most of the investment, even if the investment itself like wasn't something that panned out. It still has the ability to pan out if you're actually going to do some stuff beyond the limits of that group. So congrats to you for, doing the extra pieces to make sure that you took advantage of it.
Thank you, man. I mean, and you know what? There's something really crazy about those situations, right? And it's like in my business, I always tell people like what you start out doing is most likely never going to be what you end up doing,
Mm,
right? And so like for me to sign up for that mastermind was a lot for me at the time.
yeah.
First of all, I didn't even know what a mastermind was.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that I spent on that mastermind group was a lot for me for something that I literally didn't know. And so I kind of felt like I had to, put my back against the wall.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I wanted to get out of it because it was a real estate mastermind was to get into some kind of real estate deal to be able to pay off just the investment,
Hmm.
which ended up happening through somebody in that mastermind. But it's crazy how many different things stemmed from one, joining that mastermind, and then two, kind of putting myself out there to be in those positions and make friends with the right people, like, you and Cole and all those guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, my
Josh and the other
podcast, yeah,
Josh. Yeah.
Josh, yeah, dude. Like, I mean, my podcast literally started because of that, which started to create all these crazy relationships, and it's just like this crazy butterfly effect. So it's really
Yeah.
cool.
Well, every time you invest in yourself, it's like another bet that you're going to make it work. And sometimes with that, like that phrase says, when you pay attention. It's you only get so much value from joining like a free networking group online or something like that. But when you're dropping, some of these masterminds that we're in are tens of thousands of dollars, and some of them even six figures. When you're dropping that much cash to be involved in the room like that, you're kind of, like you said, back against the wall. Like, I better go figure out how to make this thing work. So I'm going to show up to everything. I'm going to have a good attitude. I'm going to talk to as many people as I can. and I'm going to see how we can make something happen. But that also just speaks to you as a person, because that's probably not the first time that you saw something like that unfold in your life. So let's go back in time a little bit, man. So you are you currently make money through your pressure washing business in Vegas. What were you doing before pressure washing, and how did you get into doing that?
Yeah. So, great question. I was actually a service advisor for at a Ford dealership.
Okay.
And I'll never forget it, obviously, because it was a Saturday. I was working a Saturday shift. It was November 8th of 2014. I was at work and my dad suffered his third heart attack. And while I was at work, his boss called me that he didn't show up for work. My dad was the guy that, like, no matter what, sick, doesn't matter, he's showing up, never missed a day of work. And that, I mean, at that point, 21 years that I knew of, right?
Yeah.
And so, long story short, he ended up passing away from his heart attack.
Mm.
And they gave me a couple days off to handle his estate and his funeral. But at that time, it was just me and my dad living together. And I tried to go back to work. I'm sitting in my office, I'm crying, and I couldn't handle it. As a 21-year-old kid, it was a lot for me.
Hmm.
And so I went and asked them for some more time off. They told me no. I did what I think anybody else would do, was told them to pound sand, and I quit.
Yeah.
And I made a promise to myself that day that I would never let anybody ever control my time ever again, which is kind of funny because, as a business owner, you think you
Yeah.
control, but it's
It's a
really your
pipe
clients,
dream.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I knew I had to start something. I took some time off. I went to Sedona, Arizona, extremely peaceful and healing place. I don't know if you've been there or not, but
Yeah.
I ended up starting a carpet cleaning business actually, which is
Okay.
really funny because I did not want to do that. I thought it was disgusting. I thought it was gross. I tried to open up a Capriotti's or a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so that was like the avenue that I was trying to go down. Um, at the time in 2014 or early 2015, Capriotti's had like they didn't have any locations available in this market.
Got it.
Like they're maxed out, right? And then Buffalo Wild Wings, you had to have $750,000 liquid in order to open one. I definitely did not have that. And I ended up going to actually a house party. My buddy worked for this guy that did carpet cleaning. And he goes, "Oh, you should just start a carpet cleaning business. My boss does it. He makes pretty good money." And I was like, "You want to know what, dude? I have to start something or else I'm gonna end up homeless."
Yeah. Right.
And so I actually reached out to his boss. I bought um, a like an Isuzu box truck with a bunch of carpet cleaning equipment in it. I told my friend to quit his job. I'll guarantee him a paycheck. And he did because I had some life insurance money for my dad, not a ton. And then my ex at the time, she had some money saved up and stuff too, and we kind of partnered and went in on it together. And so we started. I knew absolutely nothing, man. I didn't know anything about carpet cleaning. I didn't know anything about business. I mean, my name, like just everything that like could go wrong went wrong. Like I went broke paying my friend. Um, and it got to the point where it's like, okay, I have to make a decision to I either let my friend go and continue to try and make this business work, or I just close the business and I go back to work for somebody else. And so again, I bet on myself. I let him go. He completely understood. And dude, I worked my ass off, knocking doors every single day. I mean, doing everything I can. It was a super hard time. Um, but my mindset during that time was always that I didn't want to work for like residential clients really,
Mm.
right? So my goal was, okay, how can I get as much work as possible by going to try and sell to the least amount of people?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I started going to like residential property management companies, trying to get their turns or like rent readies. When a tenant would move out of a property, I would go in and clean the carpets and get it ready for the new tenant.
Hmm.
And so it started doing okay, right? But I was still broke. I didn't even have enough money to pay my bills. I was borrowing money to pay rent. I had my daughter was getting ready to be born or was already born. And so I walked into one of my property management offices that I was cleaning carpets for. And I was just extremely transparent with them. And I was just like, hey, look, I have a baby. I'm doing everything I can. I can't pay my bills. Do you have any other work that I could take on? And it was crazy because it was such right place and right time. And she had this $2,200 work order, like a paper work order, sitting on her desk. And she was like, "Do you have a handyman license?" And I was like, "Yes, I do," which is an R25. And she's like, "Well, you can go do this job for me because our handyman just like flaked on us." And so I literally took the work order. I think I maxed out my credit card at that time and went and bought all the materials for the house. I stayed in the house all night working on this vacant property, getting it ready to rent again, like fixing drywall stuff. And dude, I didn't even know what I was doing. Like I was like YouTubing stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Just pulled
But
up the work order and then matched it to YouTube searches and figured it out.
I mean, it was more so like, there was a bunch of like touch-up paint that needed to be done. So I'd like cut out a little piece of drywall and take it down to Home Depot to match the paint
Yeah.
and get some paint and do a bunch of touch-up paint. Or maybe there was like some minor plumbing or, a little bit of like framing from this handrail. It was just all this like crazy stuff that I didn't really, to be honest with you, I wasn't qualified for at the time.
Yeah.
But I needed the money, you
Yeah.
know? And so after that night, I was like, oh man, maybe I got something here. Maybe I could just start doing this. And so we started doing that, and it blew up way bigger and faster than I ever thought it would.
Just
Um,
doing like random handyman projects rather than
yeah,
carpet cleaning.
yeah. So I still had the carpet cleaning thing going, and then I started hiring all these people to handle all these like maintenance projects. We started doing demo jobs for larger construction companies. We started building out bars, helping with TIs on restaurants. We built out retail stores. We were doing bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, all this stuff. I had a partner who was holding a B2 license for me. And I mean, I had, I don't know, 10, 15 trucks on the road.
Wow.
And but like shortly after, I kind of jumped the gun here a little bit. Shortly after I started doing the handyman stuff, I had a buddy of mine who ran a chain of gas stations. He was the maintenance director for a chain of gas stations, and he reached out to me one day and he said, "Hey, we just fired our pressure washing contractor. Do you want the contract?"
Hmm.
And so, I mean, that's kind of that moment right there is really where I realized that relationships truly matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he called me. I said yes. I went and spent, I think like 14,000 on my first pressure washer. I had to sell some like of my personal stuff to be able to afford it. And I started pressure washing these gas stations. And then so dude, I have like a guy going out and cleaning carpets all day. I have all these different handyman and remodel jobs going on, and then I have pressure washing going on at night. And it was a lot to manage by myself. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. What made you finally like just pick a vertical and stick with it?
Yeah, so great question. So in 2021, it was like end of 2021, beginning of 2022. So it wasn't long ago.
Yeah.
Um, Again, I was spread so thin, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to manage a business like that where I have all these kind of different jobs going on. But the most important thing is I wasn't paying attention to my numbers.
Hmm.
And so while I'm running like crazy, my wife actually went through my books. And I mean, I was losing $20,000 a month. And
Dang.
I didn't even know, which is the craziest part, right? Because again, I would consider at that time we were doing more commercial stuff, right? So everything was net 30.
Hmm.
So there's so much money coming in and there's so much money coming out. It was a constant game of robbing Peter to pay Paul to get I would get paid from one job. Okay, let me pay off this credit card and then go swipe the credit card again to go get materials for the next job. It was like
Right.
just this constant chasing game. Um, and so when we found out that I was losing 20 grand a month, we sat down and she pretty much looked at me and she was like, "You need to figure something out because, you know, I'm surprised you've lasted this long, but this isn't going to last forever."
Yeah. It's not sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we made the decision to close everything else besides the pressure washing. I think I
So,
was
so is
getting,
this was this again just like a matter of just understanding the numbers? Like, were you looking at it from a perspective of this is what I like doing, or this happens to be the vertical that's making us the most profit currently? Why don't we just shut everything else off?
it was actually both,
Okay.
right? Because in the pressure washing world, I mean, at that time I was on the truck, right? And so it was very satisfying work.
Hmm.
and I wasn't having to deal with people as far as the pressure washing stuff because we're going to gas stations at night.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not really talking to clients. I'm not dealing with people. I'm showing up. I'm throwing my headphones in. I'm going to work, and
Yeah.
I'm going home and getting a check.
Right,
So,
right.
um, but so we decided to close everything down. Did I answer your question?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to
The
make sure.
profit piece too. Was it
Oh
also
yeah,
no?
yeah. Yeah, so well, I mean, obviously, right? Like I have bills to pay, and by this time I'd already bought in my house. We moved into our house, and I was losing money, but the pressure washing side of everything was profitable
Okay.
because there was a minimum amount of overhead at that time,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Because I have one truck, one trailer. I mean, it was pretty much just me and maybe a
Yeah.
helper. So, um, we decided to close everything down. We went to just the pressure washing because I was like, okay, we have 6,000, it was like roughly $6,000 or $7,000 a month in contracts. And I was like, we can survive off this for now.
Yeah, like with just you
That's
working, like no overhead, no
right.
employees. I already have the truck. I can
Right.
maintain this one or two contracts by myself, and we can actually make some money here while we figure out this scaling piece.
Yeah. And so I sold all of the other equipment. I sold all the other trucks, so I had a decent savings because I owned all of those trucks I owned outright.
Okay.
I had paid cash for everything over, the time. I'd get some money from a big job and I'd go buy a truck or equipment, whatever. And so when we sold everything, I had a decent savings set aside, and I was like, okay, we just need to really focus on this. And that's where I started to dive super deep in like the B2B sales and, learning more of the craft and trade. But everything for me was just really focused on sales and B2B sales
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. Like, how do I
And
get in contact with more people like my buddy who offered me these 14
exactly.
gas stations?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. And so I focused super heavy on that. I started to try and dive into like the psychology behind sales, and I started to surround myself with the right network, and everything changed in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding, dude. So you unlocked just like this new profit center inside of the business once you basically like were able to take a breath, look at the numbers and be like, okay, we're driving ourselves crazy, we're spread super thin, and we don't even need to be in these other verticals because they're not really profitable, we're not making any money, so let's just cut all that stuff out, focus on this and grow this one area. But that's the nice thing about focus, man. It's like once you have clarity around what you're focusing on, it's a lot easier to just go get good at that one thing rather than worrying about, okay, we're touching up drywall over here, we're painting over here, we're fixing electrical over here, we're cleaning carpets over here, we're doing pressure washing over here. It's like when you have complete clarity to like, okay, it's pressure washing and that's all. It's so much easier to get really good at that one thing than it is to try to get kind of good at these 14 things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, back then though, like, I mean, I had no money, right?
Yeah.
So I was the yes man to everything,
You
right?
have, I
Like
mean, you got to be at first,
it
right?
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm thankful that I went through that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy because I never imagined myself being the person that would be able to kind of like pick and choose their clients.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way, but now we're very like niche focused and
Yeah.
we know who our ideal clients are. And so had I not gone through all of those things of just saying yes to everything, just trying to get any dollar I could, I wouldn't be able to just hyper focus on one thing, perfect the craft and perfect the service
Yeah.
to get us to the point to where we are today. And it's like crazy, right? Like I've been in business for 10 years, but we've only been hyper focused on this for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm just now getting started in business.
Right. Right. Well, that's the thing. That's the big misnomer around clarity is that people think clarity comes before action. And in reality, it's the opposite. It feels counterintuitive because you think that I have to have clarity about something in order to take action on it, or else I'm wasting time. When in reality, the only way to really get clarity is through taking action. And so that was exactly what you did. Is like you were just action, 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 action. Like you said, I was a yes man to everything. I had to say yes because I needed the money. So I was just saying yes to these 48 different opportunities, this path, this path, this path. however I could potentially possibly piece something together that allows me to make some money without having to go work for somebody, that's what I'm going to do. But through that action is what ultimately provided the clarity piece at the end of that kind of journey, where you're like, okay, well, now I'm very clear that pressure washing is it. And then once you're clear on that direction, now you can start taking action to further that direction by learning. By now you can add more skills into the skill stack, right? Like before, it's like you have a skill of pressure washing, and then it's like, okay, well, now I add the skill of B2B prospecting. Now I add the skill of selling jobs to these job managers for these commercial sites. Now I have the skill of hiring people and replacing myself on the truck. Now I have the skill, you know what I mean? Like you are able to go really deep on the skills that are necessary in order for you to scale, pull yourself out of the business and have more, free time to be able to grow something that actually pays you what you want it to pay you with the time that you want it to take from you. And then, you continually made the correct decisions of investing the money back into growth, and investing the money back into growing your relationships, into growing your knowledge, into growing your circle. And then, you look back after a decade of doing something and you don't even recognize the person that you were when you started. It's like, that's kind of the process. It's what happens when you are just taking massive action with immediate feedback loops and then making more decisions to get clear along the way. When it comes to like personal finances, what's been your philosophy for personal finances during the entire build, from the time that you're 21, dead broke, quit your job, to now, living in a nice house, you got a boat, you got some cool things that you've been able to add to your lifestyle without feeling the pressure of having to deliver on them. What's been your philosophy about personal finance and expenses along the way?
I keep myself broke,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Expound on that. Yeah.
So I try to invest a lot into the business and a lot into personal development.
Hmm.
And so I've found that every time I've gotten large chunks of money or large payouts, or I have a really large, decent number inside of my bank account, I get way too complacent,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm constantly putting my money into different things. Like you brought up the boat. I like to buy toys because I like to have a lot of fun and enjoy my life, but I always buy right. So it's an investment to me, but it's a massive risk,
Yeah.
right? So like the last boat that I bought, most expensive boat I've ever owned. I put a bunch of money into it, and then I enjoyed it for a season, and then I sold it and made a bunch more money.
Hmm.
But then I roll that money into something else. You know what I mean? Like I've tried to open up other businesses and do all this other stuff. But as far as my personal financial like philosophy is, if my bills are paid and my wife and my kids are able to not worry about what they want and what they need, I'm the wealthiest person in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
and I love that advice though of stay broke. It's like when you start stacking cash, one of two things happens. You get complacent, like you said, or secondarily, you start spending the money. Like
Yep.
something happens when there's excess money in your account, it finds a place in somebody else's account. You know what I mean? It doesn't just like stay there. And arguably, it shouldn't stay there because it's just getting destroyed by inflation. So there's always something to do with it. There's always somewhere to put it. But yeah, get it out of your sight, man. Get it out of your line of sight. Even if it's just putting it into a different account on a different application, that adds another layer of complexity in order to be able to get it out and put it back in your checking account and spend the money. Get it somewhere where it's not just where it's not in your normal banking where you're seeing it all the time. Like put it to work somewhere else and get it gone so that you maintain that kind of hustle mentality. When you look at your bank account, even though like net worth wise you're not broke, it's like cash in the bank, I'm broke. I got to go work. Like I got to go make sure that I fill this thing back up, and then once it's filled back up, write a check, get it out of your account again, and like put it to work somewhere else so that keep that competitive edge going.
Well, um, I think that's something that a lot of people that maybe have never, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but like never had money, or they've never seen a large amount of money or anything that they believe is like They see somebody that might be doing well in their lives and they think that their bank account is just like, 7, 8, 9 figures all
Flush
of
with
the time.
cash. Yeah, right.
It's just not true,
Yeah,
right? Like most of these people are keeping themselves broke and they're putting their money into different assets like businesses or real estate or I mean, like crypto,
yep,
which
yep,
is another story or whatever it might be. You know what I mean?
yep.
But my bills are always paid. I'm never late on anything unless I just forget.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Most of my stuff's on auto pay, but
Yeah,
I just that's my goal, man. My kids go to a good school. I go to a really nice gym, as you know. We have a great lifestyle, and I'm happy.
yeah,
And so that's all we can ask for, man, because we're not going to take the money when we go, right?
right. If you lost everything today, business wise, finance
Yeah.
wise, and had to start over, what would you do this year to go make more money?
Oh, dude, start another service business. So we opened up an air conditioning company, um, and super minimal investment. I think we each put in like 2,500 bucks or something. And we had a bunch of agreements. We weren't going to touch money until the bank account got to a certain point, and that was after we bought vans, had it wrapped, equipment, all that kind of stuff. But it's literally just trial and error, right? Like if I were to
Yeah,
go start any service business right now, I wholeheartedly know and believe that it will be successful the first year, or at least at the bare minimum second year,
yeah,
right? Like that HVAC business, we did like 650K our first year.
yeah, yeah,
Where when I started my business my first time, my gross income was 47,000.
right.
So if I were to lose my business today, I'm going to be starting another service business tomorrow.
Yeah, I love the idea of the service businesses, man, because like you said at the beginning of this, you're like, oh, I was thinking about doing a Capriati's or a Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever. And it's like there are other options once you have money in the bank and you have a significant net worth that you've built up. But if you're starting from scratch and you're just like, I hate my job and I can't stand going to this thing, whatever, on Saturdays when I get this stupid shift, I don't like my boss. This is the worst, and I got to figure something out. And you want a path to faster cash in a business model. Service-based stuff is just the best thing to do, in my opinion, because you can start it like you can start in addition to your full-time job without costing you a ton of money to start it up. You
Oh
just
yeah.
start doing it, and then if you can figure out really quickly if it's something that you like doing or you enjoy doing, or that is even interesting enough to you to quit your job to replace it with this thing. Like you can make an extra $500 a month doing a service business on the side with one client with one property once a month, or you can turn it into a 7 or 8 figure business and sell it to a private equity company and bounce in a decade. So like there's uh, you know theoretically uncapped earning potential in service businesses, but the overhead to start is next to nothing. So it's a really, really great place for most people to get started with something, even if it's an online business, service based, marketing agencies or any sort of agency work. Like when your job is just to solve for giving people their time back, all it takes you is just a little bit of extra time at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too, right? Is like with the service-based businesses, especially in the B2B, you can really focus on the people that are already spending the money no matter what, right? So
Mm.
like commercial real estate, you know what CAMs are?
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, of course you do. So in a,
Explain it though for everybody listening.
yeah, 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 yeah. In a commercial building, it might have like a multi-tenant space, right? And so let's say your lease rate might be $1 per square foot. Well, on those commercial properties, they might have a CAM fee of, let's say, 10 to 15 cents per square foot on top of your lease rate. And CAM stands for Common Area Maintenance. So what that means is, which is genius for these landlords, is as they're renting out these properties that the people are paying the note on, they're also putting money into a separate bank account to fund all of the common area maintenance, and issues the property might have. So there's a lot of different things that follow under those CAMs, which might be like window cleaning, landscaping, pressure washing, parking lot striping, all those kinds of things. And so they have to spend that money though. So if you're starting to look into a service-based business and you are trying to, you're running Facebook ads and Google ads and doing all these things, trying to target these people that don't have to spend the money. Like, a residential homeowner doesn't have to get their landscaping done.
Yeah.
Maybe if
Yeah.
they're HOA, but they don't have to get pressure washing done or window cleaning done or anything like that. But these commercial properties, they have to spend that money. It's in their budgets, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so why not target somebody that is spending the money with you no matter what? All you have to do is convince them to use you,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
And
you do
yeah.
that by providing an exceptional service and being friendly. And, a good buddy of mine, Josh Latimer, they say the best way to make friends is to be friendly.
Yeah.
So
Right.
just go make friends with these people and then sell your services that is guaranteed going to pay you.
Yeah, just focus on the differentiating factor. It's like, and when you're first starting, you don't have the differentiating factor of social proof. You don't have the differentiating factor of credibility or about how long you've been in business or how many trucks you have or how many 5-star ratings you have on Google or Yelp. Like, you don't have any of that. But what do you have? You have the ability to give that one client 100% of your focus and attention. So focus on that as the selling point. Is like, yeah, a lot of these other companies, like they're doing millions in business, sure, but that means that they have 43 other clients and their attention is spread too thin. Like, if you give this business to me, it will be my only job to make sure that you receive the best customer service imaginable. And I will, you know what I mean? Like, there's always a way to position it in a way that makes you different from everybody else that's offering something similar and allows you to play to whatever strengths you have. And every business will have that strength. It'll just be different for you depending on what stage of the journey that you're in. But the only way to guarantee that you'll never get to the point that you're trying to get is if you never get started to begin with. So you got to get started with something, offer what you can offer, and then, sell the differentiation point of like, look, this is what I'm like, I will, text me at midnight and I will show up. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
gotta offer the things that you have to offer. And eventually somebody's going to trust you and give you the business. You just got to be willing to put yourself in the position to get it.
I was always taught to treat every single client that you have like it's your only client,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And again, especially in the B2B world for the service industry, you might have less clients, right? Like, we don't have this laundry list of clients. We have a smaller list of clients that have laundry list of facilities,
Right. Right.
and that's kind of what I was explaining from the beginning of me trying to find, know, less people to work with that can provide us with more consistent revenue.
Right.
And
And then it's just a
so,
matter of taking care of those people.
oh yeah.
Right.
And dude, I'm like, I don't make excuses. I'll lose $10,000 on a job before my name ever goes sour in any
Sure.
kind of situation. I guarantee everything I do, I show up when I say I'm going to show up. And it's just that consistency and level of respect for those people that will continue to, bring in the business
Yeah.
and continue to strengthen those relationships.
Yeah. I love this conversation, man. I appreciate you for coming on the show. Let's move into the last segment here. These are just a few rapid questions, rapid answers. You ready?
Yep.
What profession other than your own do you think it'd be fun to master?
Um, Probably speaking,
Okay.
like public speaking.
If you could sit on a park bench with someone, past or present, and chat for an hour, who would it be?
My father.
How do you like to learn best? Books, blogs, podcasts, YouTube, newsletters?
In person, hands on with somebody.
Okay.
It's the absolute best for me. If you show me something once, I'll never forget it.
What's a resource that you'd recommend to the audience on making more money, be it a book, a blog, a event, something?
LinkedIn.
What is your go-to pump up song?
My go-to pump up song.
Yep.
Um, oh man, I can't even think of the name of it right now. What is it? Keep killing it or something?
Remember the
I,
artist name or no?
I don't know. It always pops up on my Pandora when I'm working out. I don't know the name of it though.
What is something you are not very good at besides remembering the name of the songs?
Um, Remembering a lot of stuff.
Remembering things. Got it.
Yeah.
As we wrap up the conversation, man, where can people go to get more from you?
Facebook would probably be the best place.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
first and last name.
Yeah, Robert Eisenstadt on Facebook. I have a bunch of people that are constantly messaging me and asking me for advice and help, and you know,
Sweet.
that's it.
So check out Facebook, Robert Eisenstadt. That's Eisenstadt. Robert Eisenstadt. Go check out things that he's posting on Facebook. Connect with them. Shoot him a message. Guys, listen. If you're listening to this and you're genuinely trying to add some more cash to your bank account this year, and you want to do it in your spare time before it turns into a real business, please reach out to some of these guests. They're literally giving you contact information and saying, reach out to me. You're doing yourself a disservice if you do not take advantage of that every once in a while. So reach out to Robert, see if, or just see what you can offer to him, what value you can bring to the table. And I'm sure that he'll be happy to answer whatever you send over his way. So Robert, thanks for coming on the show, dude. I appreciate you. Everybody else listening, tuning in, remember, money only solves your money problems, but it makes your other problems a little bit easier to solve if you solve that one first. So let's continue to do that here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.